All right. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Bridge to Brilliance Judgment Day. My name is Woodrow Wilson Wagner, and it's my privilege to serve as the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Lecturer of Communication and Political Science here at UHV. We are coming to you live via the giant UHV satellite, perhaps at this very moment, hovering over, let's say, El Campo, which brings us this virtual gathering through Microsoft Teams. So many more people can participate. In a special way, we'd like to recognize our new participants and friends from Victoria College, the Victoria Independent School District, and the schools and staff of the Diocese of Victoria who have been also joining us. So thank you, all of our new viewers and listeners, for coming to Bridge to Brilliance. If you've never attended a Bridge to Brilliance before, you're in for a really great treat, and we hope you'll come back for more Bridge to Brilliance. These professional development workshops are very unique. They unite students with faculty, with staff, and with community members and industry professionals in really kind of an unprecedented way that brings out some really outstanding conversations. You might find that after today's session, you're going to want to follow up with our guest or maybe follow up with some of your fellow participants. And you never know, as we always tell students, who's going to be in your network and who from that network can open some great doors for you. So we hope those doors are open for you during our workshop. We hope you get a lot out of it today. I'm so very excited and proud to introduce our speaker, and he'll tell us more about himself in just a second. But many of you, I'm sure, know our county judge, Mr. Ben Zeller, the Victoria County Judge. He's been Victoria County Judge since 2015. And he's been in Texas for a while, let's say. He's an eighth generation Texan, and his family has roots all the way back to Stephen F. Austin's old 300 settlers. So when Judge Zeller says he's a Texan, he's a Texan. He graduated from this very institution, the University of Houston, Victoria, magna cum laude graduate with a bachelor's degree in business administration. So if there's any of our business students or faculty on, this could be you someday, right? He's held a lot of leadership roles, not just in Victoria, but all over the state. The County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas, the South Texas County Judges Commissioners Association, and so many other leadership roles. He's also served as an elected member of the State Republican Executive Committee and was appointed by Governor Greg Abbott to the state's task force on infectious disease and preparedness, which is so very important, especially in the wake of COVID. Judge Zeller and his wife, Jamie, have been married since 2008. And I know his wife and his children are his pride and joy, and I'm sure he'll have occasion to mention them today. He has 3 young children, and they're all active members in their local church and active in so many things around Victoria. So chances are, if you go to a lot of events in Victoria, you will run into Judge Zeller and his lovely family at some point. Ladies and gentlemen, I now want to turn it over to Judge Zeller, who's going to tell us a little bit more about himself, and then we'll open it up to questions. I've got some questions, and I know our viewers, Judge, also have questions. I'd ask our viewers to please keep your microphone on mute and to keep your camera off. And if you do have a question, if you could go ahead and type that in the box, or you can certainly raise your hand as well to get to that question. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Judge Ben Zeller. Judge.
Well, thank you very much, Woodrow. I'm delighted to participate in this today. I know I have the great fortune of being able to talk to a few UHV classes every year and to be able to visit today with some UHV students as well as some faculty and staff and other folks from the community is real exciting. Always eager to talk about the things going on in Victoria and the county and engage with residents from the community. Like Woodrow pointed out, a longtime Texan, um, native of our area. Victoria is home to me. Graduated from UHV back in '05, and then started the MBA program at UHV, but ended up transferring to A&M San Antonio, where I got my MBA. Been very active in a lot of different organizations and associations here in Victoria and throughout the state. Like Woodrow mentioned, my wife is also from Victoria here. Three kids that are getting older by the day, 9, 11, and 12 years old now. So no rest for the weary, but enjoy what I do. It's crazy how time has flown by. It's been a decade now that I've been in office as Victoria County Judge. We've done a lot, accomplished a lot, and I'm always happy again to talk about what that role is and what county government does for the community. And if the conversation shifts a little bit more to engagement in the political process, have a bit of background in that as well. So very happy to be here, Woodrow.
Judge, thank you very much. I know you have a very busy schedule. There are about 15 other things you've got going on right
Well,
now.
I tell you, Woodrow, I'm actually in the basement of our emergency operations center here because the Victoria Symphony is having their downtown rhythms, and the music is beautiful, but it's very loud, and it's right outside my office window. So I'm in an alternate location at the moment.
Excellent. Well, you're in a safe location too. So if anything should happen, you might be the last man standing. So that's excellent. Judge, I want to start just with some questions. And again, I'm going to share my screen just to give our viewers a little bit of context. Let's just kind of start with your office. And if you don't know where Judge Zeller goes to work every day, this is it. This is a little something called the Victoria County Courthouse, one of the most historic buildings, not just in our area, but in the state of Texas. And I'm sure we could do a whole bridge to brilliance just on the courthouse. But Judge, this is where you walk into the door every day, you go to work, and that's gotta get you a little bit, right? I mean, it's been a number of years since you've been doing it, but I would imagine that every time you step into that very historic and perhaps even sacred space, that there's a lot that goes through your mind in terms of what you've been elected to do, what your job is for Victoria. So I want to just start with that about why did you become a county judge? And why did you want to walk into that building every
Sure.
day for your work?
Sure. Well, thank you for that question, Woodrow. The answer really is that I've had a passion and an interest in local government primarily since the time I was a kid, public policy, local government, politics, county government primarily. And so this is always an interest that I've had, something that I've been, well, in the political realm involved in. But basically, 10, 11 years ago, I saw the need for a change of direction here at the county. Saw both the need and the opportunity, and really saw where a lot of the preparation that I had put into this aligned with what the need was. So I ran at that time, and uh, as you know, Woodrow, that was considered a long shot election. Of course, we won, but looking at that further, peeling back the onion, I don't know that it was all that surprising. I think there was a desire on the community for a new vision, a change of directions. And I tell you, I've just been so honored to be able to fill that role in this time. You bring up the courthouse; it really is an inspiring building, a lot of history. But the history of the role of county judge goes back even further than when our courthouse was built. The role of county judge, and if I could talk about that just a little bit, it's a very unique role. It's created in the state constitution. The role of county judge, where there's one in every county that's elected by all voters throughout the county. The role of county judge is very unique in that it's really the only position, as far as I'm aware, in the entire nation in which there are vested judicial, administrative, and legislative responsibility. So the county judge wears a lot of hats. The larger the county, the more administrative and budgetary the role is, and the less judicial. Um, my role is primarily not banging a gavel on the table, wearing a black robe. It's budgetary, it's administrative. Every county judge in the state, under state law, is also the director of emergency management. So COVID really demonstrated to the public that tie-in between the county judge and emergency management, because you saw our smiling faces far too frequently during those times, giving updates about what the pandemic was doing. So the role of county judge is as the director of emergency management. Also, in counties below 225,000 in population, the county judge is also the chief budget officer. So in essence, the county judge is the chief administrator, chief budget officer, presiding officer of commissioner's court, which is the governing body of the county. I tell folks, basically, there's not many issues or challenges or problems that don't come across my desk. It's a lot of important roles, but then it's also a lot of I mean, I've described it as the bottle washer in chief, as well as the chief executive for the county. So a ton of different hats: budgetary, administrative, emergency management, commissioner's court is some of the big ones.
Speaking of hats and hats on a table, we have this photo, Judge, which I hope you can see. And Judge just mentioned this idea of a county commissioner's court. And I think this is going to be kind of our next question of exploration. So Judge Zeller is not working by himself. He's working with other individuals who are also elected, our county commissioners, each of them representing a specific geographic area in Victoria County. So when decisions are made on behalf of the county judge, as I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's not all just unilateral, just Ben Zeller saying, we're going to do this, right? We're going to do that. That it's something that takes consensus. It's something that takes finding common ground, collaboration. Now, the trick is, Judge, sometimes you have to do that with people you might disagree with, who might have a different political party or different affiliation, but everybody, and I think I can say all five of these gentlemen pictured there, regardless of their partisanship, they are absolutely dedicated to making Victoria a better place, Victoria County. Now, the way that happens might be different. They might have different ideas. Thus, you have to form a sense of consensus and common ground. So, Judge, I was wondering if you could talk about that role that you have as the judge in trying to find that consensus and common ground with your fellow commissioners, how you've done that, and you can certainly get into some of the specific examples in the way you're doing that. But if you don't mind, if we can just talk a little bit about your relationship with these commissioners. And if you don't know, I'll just introduce them briefly. We have Commissioner Kenneth Sexton. We have Commissioner Shannon Martin, who's the newest of the commissioners. We have our county judge, Ben Zeller, there he is. And then you have Commissioner Jason Ort, and then Commissioner Danny Garcia. So this is a team of human beings all working together. So how do you do that, Judge? How do you build consensus and find those common ground, especially when their perspective might be a little bit different?
Yeah, well, you very well described, Woodrow, and you hit the nail on the head with the word teamwork. Because really, in county government, especially, that's the and the absolute most important component. Because in county government, unlike other entities of government, it's more, and I describe it as being, rather than one big business, it's more of like 24 individual smaller businesses all working together to serve the same customers, the same community. And the reason is because within county government, those actually carrying out the day-to-day functions, running the offices, are elected by the people. Woodrow mentioned the county commissioners, one from each precinct. Of course, the county judge, all elected. That's the governing body of the county. But the other offices within the county are also elected, whether it's the county sheriff, which is the chief law enforcement officer of the county, to the county treasurer, the county clerk, 4 constables, 4 justices of the peace, county court at law judges, a lot of elected officials, all reporting to the voters rather than to any one person within the county. So there's really no one who's the boss per se in the courthouse, which absolutely requires that everybody work well together and that we have that element of teamwork and collaboration. And that's really what makes things successful, because we do have that in Victoria County. And that's one of the reasons we're able to be as effective as we are. There are some things, though, in the role of county judge that help set the agenda and set the table for what the priorities are going to be. And the budget is certainly one of them. As I mentioned, the county judge is the chief budget officer. So it's my responsibility under the law to prepare and to propose an annual budget to Commissioners Court, who then can make whatever tweaks and modifications we deem appropriate. But just that one duty kind of sets the table and sets the stage for what our priorities are going to be. And I do want to brag on our Commissioners Court. If you follow local politics any, as I know Woodrow does, there's a lot of communities with a lot of drama out there. Fortunately, that's not what we have in Victoria. We have a very cohesive and effective Commissioners Court, and it truly is an honor to work alongside each of those gentlemen and to be in the role that I'm in now. And I tell you, it was only in a short window of time that I went, Woodrow, from being the new guy to being one of the more tenured members of the court, because we have three new members of Commissioners Court. When I came on board, all the commissioners there had been there a very long time. So that was a bit of a period of time in which I guess had to prove myself, but in short order was able to really take the reins of the role, and it's been something that I've enjoyed ever since. You know, the biggest thing I enjoy about this role of county judge is being able to implement things that really do benefit the public, benefit the community, being able to set those priorities and that agenda, and we can see tangible results. And we're seeing a lot in Victoria right now. A lot of huge projects that we've been working on for years are now coming to fruition all at the same time. And it's an exciting time in Victoria.
And that's exactly where I want to go next, Judge, is talk about some of those very specific, I think, completely landscape altering projects that even in the history of Victoria, I don't think anybody thought we could ever do. But I think this speaks to you and the rest of the commissioners being able to collaborate. Again, y'all might have different ideas. Y'all might have different agendas. Y'all come from different parties. Y'all come from different this, different that. But y'all put the needs of the community first. And that's not just a talking point, but that shows. And I want to actually show some of that. And I think a good place to start, Judge, is, and we'll go to some of that, but this, you've already brought it up before, this new emergency management headquarters that we're building. And what a big deal that is, because I think people are used to seeing you sometimes when we have the hurricanes, when we have COVID, when we have all these terrible things, but I don't think we need to wait for the terrible things to happen before we're prepared for them. And I think having this new headquarters, I think, is going to be a real game changer. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it came to be, and, you know, where the discussion started? And was everybody on board with that? Did some people need to have some persuasion? Just give us some behind the scenes of that a little bit.
Sure, happy to speak to that. But first, let me take a step back. I talked a little bit about the role of county judge. Let me talk about counties in general, and it ties into this Office of Emergency Management. Uh, Texas counties have been around as long as Texas has been around. When Texas won its independence from Mexico, the 23 original counties that were formed as part of the Republic of Texas, those municipalities under Mexican rule became the first 23 counties in the Republic of Texas. And Victoria County, our home here, was one of those 23. So we've been around a long time. And at the start, way back then in the old Wild West days, one of the primary purposes that counties were being formed at that time was to provide a system of law and order, a system of public safety. And even though we're now in a modern high-tech world, that underlying goal of public safety, law and order is still one of our underlying goals and responsibilities. So the duties of public health, public safety are very much our core mission. So when we years ago had the opportunity to pursue a facility like this, we jumped right on it. Basically, what this is due to our close relationship with the leadership of the Texas Division of Emergency Management, other statewide agencies and entities, we applied for and were successful in getting a large grant to build a new disaster response complex, which we plan to build near the Victoria Regional Airport. What this facility will do is be an all hazards shelter to house emergency responders that are responding to whether it's hurricanes or wildfires or other disasters anywhere in our region. This is a place for them to stage, to be housed, and it will also serve as a permanent home for our, in all likelihood, our Office of Emergency Management, probably Department of Public Safety folks, other entities from the regional and state level. So it's one of many different recent success stories that are underway and that we're going to be working diligently on over the next few years to build and to bring to fruition. Right next door to that facility, we're also planning a new mental health hospital that the county will also be building. We acquired a large pool of funds from the legislature last legislative session to build a new mental health hospital. So we're going to be doing that. That, of course, is in keeping with the county's responsibility of public health, public safety. So we're going to be doing that also. That's going to be in the headlines a lot in the coming months as we break ground on that and build that much needed facility that'll should open up 60 mental health beds to folks all around the state.
So, Judge, take us through again the process of deliberation. So, someone comes up with an idea. Maybe it's you, maybe it's Commissioner Garcia, maybe it's whoever, and it's on the table. And to get that idea from idea to breaking ground or we're having the ribbon cutting, take us through that process a little bit. And your role specifically as a judge, are you just one of 5 votes? Are you somebody who's guiding that process? What is your role in that deliberation process when an idea of these kind of magnitudes happen?
Yeah, I think, well, it can be both, but I think if a county judge is embracing their role as they should, it is in leading that effort and in guiding that discussion. I make the comment around here internally that great ideas are a fairly low value commodity. What really matters is the execution, the implementation. We can come with bright ideas all day long. It's actually putting the wheels in motion, making it happen, that is where the value comes in. And for example, the ribbon cutting we had yesterday for our regional public defender's office, that occurred yesterday afternoon, but actually the first discussion about that I was involved in was in 2016. In 2016 at a conference for continuing education, I had spoken to, an individual who's now the executive director of the Texas Indigent Defense Commission. At that time, he worked with the grants for that entity, and we had talked about this concept of a sustainability grant for a in-house regional public defender's office. And so we had follow-up conversations over the course of months and years. This is actually attempt number three to get this grant. So that just gives you kind of the timeline of what it takes to put some of these things into practice. But this specifically, I think, is one of the many things that Victoria is doing and has done that goes over and above what a county typically does. I'm sure your students are aware, Woodrow, but the Sixth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to an attorney to individuals who the government is accusing of a crime, prosecuting for a crime. In Texas, that is handed to the local county to deliver and to protect that constitutional right, the right to an attorney. Over the years, we were encountering a lot of challenges in identifying attorneys who would be willing to take on these cases. Costs for that were just going up and up every year. It was hard to really have any quality control measures on the quality of representation. So what we did was partner with 3 of our neighboring counties, and through a coalition of 4 counties, we applied for a grant to the state and were awarded that grant, a 2/3 perpetual grant to fund this office, which is going to service 4 counties for indigent criminal defense. When we're fully staffed, it'll be about 18 attorneys, about 10 support staff. So a pretty big operation, but what it'll do is improve the effectiveness of our justice system, which again, going back to that system of law and order. This is a part of what we do at the county. And here in Victoria, due to this project, we're going to be doing it a whole lot better. So it was exciting to see that come to fruition. One of many exciting things and successes that we've achieved here recently. And it's been in the works for a while, like I say, years in the making.
Very important follow-up questions. First of all, are the giant scissors at a ribbon cutting, are they hard to handle? And 2, do you get to keep the giant scissors or do you have to give them back to someone?
Well, those scissors are owned by the county, so somebody around here has them, and hopefully we'll be using them again soon. They are a comically large pair of scissors, but we ordered them specifically for this event. And in the coming months and years, we know we're going to be using them again because there's a lot of good things also on the horizon. And I'll point out, Woodrow, we talk about those core functions about public safety, law and order, but counties are also given the prerogative of going above and beyond, doing other things. And in Victoria County, we do a lot of other things, heightened and enhanced services that other communities don't. I'll give you some examples. Here in Victoria County, we have a county-owned, county-operated hospital, Citizens Medical Center, 1,200 employees, one of the largest employers, whether public or private, in our region. So we have a county hospital, a county airport. Victoria Regional Airport, many people don't know, is owned and operated by Victoria County. So a county hospital, a county airport. Soon it'll be a county mental health hospital. Soon emergency response complex. We also have a juvenile detention facility that we operate. Counties are also responsible for conducting elections, and not just elections for county offices like county judge, county commissioner, but we conduct the presidential elections here in our county where our residents vote for folks up and down the ballot. In Victoria, we also conduct through a memorandum of understanding, a contract, the elections for the other governmental entities that elect their leaders. So we do a lot here at the county. A lot of those things are behind the scenes that many folks aren't aware of. That's just a few examples. There are other examples, the health department. We have a veteran service office. And the list goes on, but we do a lot, and it's always our goal to do those things even better. We've taken a lot of big steps forward recently, and there's a lot more good things on the horizon. I may have rambled there a bit, Woodrow, but I really am excited about all the things we've achieved here recently, um, and the many more things that are on the horizon. It's a good time to be in Victoria.
I don't call it rambling, Judge. I call it progress. I call it results. And again, I go back to my core question about if people can put aside all their things and actually negotiate and actually find common ground, things can get done.
Yeah,
And that's a lesson we want for our students
yeah,
and really our faculty, our staff, everybody who's listening today,
yeah.
that when we put aside all of our petty differences, all of our agendas, and we work towards a common goal, as all of us on this call are, and you included, Judge, want to see UHV be successful. That's how it happens. The
Yeah.
negotiation, the common ground. And I think you and your colleagues, Judge, deserve a lot of credit, whether people voted for them or not. I mean, y'all are in the office now and y'all are doing it and y'all are making it happen. I want to follow up on each of those things: public defender's office, mental health, and emergency response, especially from the perspective of the average citizen, okay? So average citizen of Victoria County, why does it benefit them, Judge, the average citizen? Why does it benefit them to have a public defender's office,
Sure.
even if they're not on the wrong side of the law? Why does that benefit them? And why should they be excited about this ribbon cutting and other things?
That's an excellent question, and it's one that we looked at, asked, and answered early on in this process. It is true that most folks won't find them on the wrong side of the law being prosecuted for a jailable offense necessitating an attorney. Most people won't be individually utilizing this office, but the reason it benefits everybody in our community is because providing this service is a constitutional right that the county is responsible for providing, and it comes with a big price tag. So what this is us, Commissioners Court, looking at one of our more important responsibilities and one of our more expensive responsibilities and figuring out a way to both do it better and to do it more cost effectively. We were spending about $1 million a year just paying individual private attorneys under the old system of doing this. Under the new system, we're able to bring that function in-house, ensure better quality representation, metrics that we can analyze and scrutinize, um, basically do it better, but also do it being funded 2/3 by the state. And I know those state dollars are also public dollars, but the fact is that my primary concern has always been our residents here in Victoria County and the property taxes that our folks have to pay. So looking for ways to lessen the burden of those local property taxes is something we always look at. So for the folks who will never individually and personally utilize this office, what they can do is rest easy knowing that we found a big cost, an important responsibility that we're both doing cheaper and doing better. And this is just one arena that we're accomplishing those two goals. So that's really the reason why. And and as we were doing this process, I did hear from a few folks. Why are you wasting your time on that? They're just a bunch of criminals. Put our money elsewhere. And basically, I get that initial sentiment, but the fact of the matter is, as most of us in Victoria County are constitutionally minded folks, limited government minded folks. And the fact of the matter is that if government is going to deny you of your right to life, liberty, or property, um, they had better have a good case, meet that minimum burden, and also that the accused person has a good attorney representing them. So, at its core fundamental essence, it's a constitutional right. We want to do it well, and we want to do it cost effectively.
Such a great answer, Judge. Thank you. We've got some questions specifically coming in on the hospital, so I want to just stick with that for a second. One of our students, Jennifer, said, Does the county hospital render care to people regardless of their legal status? Or are they obligated to ask patients their status? That's such an important question. Thank you, Jennifer.
The law related to that has changed somewhat recently. I don't want to answer that incorrectly. I know that there are rules and regulations pertaining to that, and I don't want to misspeak. I can follow up and provide that. The ground is shifting related to those rules and requirements in the last session, even now. There's a lot that's changed, and I don't want to misspeak. Um,
Jennifer, I know the judge and he will follow up with you and he'll give you a very good answer and it will probably come from a very official source too. But as the judge says, it's like daily by the hour, judge, as the session is still going on right now in Austin. These these rules are changing. So what the judge says today could literally be something totally different tomorrow. So I think Jennifer totally understands that, and Jennifer will get a good answer for you. But the judge makes a good point. It's like there's laws, yes, but they're not forever. And every 2 years in Texas, as we all know, we have another legislative session. And so judge
yeah,
might have been doing something 2 legislative sessions ago. Now it's totally different. And
well,
then, as we see in other photos, Judge, you are
yeah,
constantly in Austin testifying and
yes,
trying to get up to date on all
yeah.
the changes. But go ahead,
Well,
Judge.
this underscores a very important element about county government. Counties are extensions of the state at the local level. Counties are instrumentalities of the state, not municipalities. People get counties confused with cities. Cities, your local city council, has a lot more open-ended flexibility. They basically can do anything that's not prohibited by the Constitution or by statutes, whereas counties, we can only do those things that are expressly given to us as either mandates or options. So when I talk to students about that, I describe it as it's a partnership, the state and the county, but they're the senior partner, and the partnership agreement is rewritten every 2 years. So that's happening now, but we are very much impacted by the decisions of the legislature in terms of, well, goodness, a huge part, about half of our general fund budget is attributable to unfunded mandates from the state. So we're very much impacted by what the legislature does, which is why I've always found it so important for me personally to be involved in Austin, and especially through our county associations, to know what's going on and to make sure that our voice in Victoria is heard. And there's a couple examples, Woodrow, of Victoria specific legislation in front of the legislature right now that's very impactful, as you're well aware, to our community, the future of UHV, as well as some other county specific legislation. One bill would enable the county to utilize a new revenue source of hotel occupancy tax to use to fund projects out at our county airport. So what the legislature does matters and it impacts us. And so we need to have a very effective voice in Austin. And that's what I try to be and have attempted to be for the past 10 years that I've been county judge.
Do you find that most other counties and judge are taking this as seriously as you are, that they're out in front and they're at the hearings, they're meeting with members and their staffs? Or do some counties have a more laid back approach to interfacing with the Texas legislature? Because my experience has been you've always been out in front, and it's not like you're sending staffers. You yourself, the judge, are there
Yeah,
sometimes for hours and days at a time. Is that typical of most counties in Texas?
the intensity and diligence to with which that is pursued and participated in is not consistent across the board. I know personally I have found this to be critical So I've been out front and involved as the president of a lot of our county associations, legislative chair for some of our associations. I don't see how I couldn't be. And there are a core of other county judges that are, but by and large, um, not everybody approaches it the same way. And to their defense, a lot of communities are a lot smaller than Victoria that have fewer resources to where it's difficult to do. And frankly, it's difficult for me to do because this is a job with a lot of hats, a lot of demands. So carving out time to participate in legislative activities, it takes a toll. It takes a lot of time. But again, I don't see how we couldn't survive and be effective without doing that. So to answer your question, a lot of us are involved, but of the 254, it's everybody approaches it a little bit differently. I do see in our county associations are a good resource to where we can collectively speak with one voice. That's really the value I see in our associations and why I've tried to make them as successful as possible.
Keep those questions coming. Students, faculty, staff, community, please feel free to raise your hand or you can type them in the chat and we'll try to get to those questions. But I've, of course, got more questions for the judge. So, Judge, I want to go back to persuasion and negotiation. And then, in just the simplest way you can, how do you define those things? How do you define persuasion? How do you define negotiation? What are the key components in those things? Because I think that could be a real help for everybody on this call to get a sense of how you define those things.
Yeah, I guess at its most basic essence, persuasion is you being an effective advocate for your own beliefs and priorities and values, um, which is essential. I mean, in regardless of the industry that one may find themselves in, not just politics, but really being effective at communicating your ideas. I think you owe it to in the political realm, you owe it to your values, you owe it to your supporters, you owe it to your residents to be an effective advocate for what you're trying to do. So really that's what persuasion's about. There's of course academic literature on the topic of persuasion negotiation, but at its heart, it's being an effective advocate for what you believe in, which in my role is important because I'm often laying out an agenda that perhaps not everybody is 100% on board with. And so it takes me, being an expert in what I'm proposing, knowing what I'm talking about, frankly, but also being able to communicate the benefit of that to everybody else. And I would recommend that everybody listening take some continuing education coursework and classes in negotiation. A big part of that, being successful in that, is listening more than talking, which I probably haven't done in this session, Woodrow, but really that's a big part of what it is, listening more than talking and communicating the value of what we're trying to do. Because I can tell you, having been in this role for a decade, not everything that I and we have done has been universally embraced. But even the things that folks may disagree with, I can always explain and lay out the rationale and the basis for why. There's always a why, and a very good why. It may not be that everybody agrees with that, but there is a reason. And quite often that reason is because it's the law and it's required. A lot of things we do, frankly, are mandated that we do. And so a lot of times we'll get a call, why are you guys doing this? Well, we have to. Again, we're the junior partner, the legislature is that senior partner.
I want to go back to listening. And I think you said something that's important about being able to stop yourself from always thinking about what you're going to say next and actually listen to the people. Now, I've had the benefit, and I think other people maybe on this call have had the benefit of being with you, Judge, when the cameras are not rolling, when you're in a meeting and you're trying to negotiate or you're trying to persuade. And my observation is in those times, you are an exceptional listener. even though you're the judge, right? And you've got that title and you've got all that thing, or maybe we're even in your office and all the trappings of the courthouse, you, I think, have a humility about you that makes you a good listener to listen sometimes to people, Judge, and I don't know how you do it, are saying things that would make my blood boil, that, but I think one of your great gifts, and I think it's a God-given gift, is that you can listen and not just hear. That's what I always tell my students. Don't just hear them, but actually listen to them, right? Process, think about what they're saying, play devil's advocate, put yourself in their shoes. And I can remember all kind of conversations. There was a thing a year back when people wanted, don't tear down the jail, and whatever it was. And you were so incredibly patient as person after person, very passionately, sometimes very angrily, had things to say to you or the other commissioners. But I think you exhibited that kind of listening and were eventually able to negotiate and talk to these people in a reasonable way. And they might not have agreed with you, but I think many people saw you as a fair player, as a fair listener. So that's such an important point. Go ahead, Judge.
Well, thank you, Woodrow. I hope what you're saying is true. I appreciate the kind words.
No pressure
If,
now.
if,
No.
if it's not entirely the case, that's what I aspire to be. Because the fact of the matter is that that listening component is essential. You're an excellent public speaker, Woodrow. You would know that Rule 101 is it's all about the audience. It's about the audience. It's not about you. It's about your audience. Who is your audience? What's important to them? What do they value? What do they care about? Because again, here at the county, I mean, I have a tiny staff. I mean, frankly, only a couple people technically work directly for me. What we have is a very flat organizational chart with a lot of other elected officials who, I guess, by our nature, we have opinions and egos and all that. And it takes bringing everybody to the table. And I mean, and to make that effort successful, it's about knowing what's important to them and making things a win-win. And it works surprisingly well. From the outside, you wouldn't look at our structure and think that it can be effective, but it really is. And it's something that I've always liked about counties compared to other levels of government like cities or ISDs or special purpose districts. I really like the county structure. And when it's working the way it's supposed to, it really works. It's a shining example of effectiveness and efficiency at the local level. And it's something that I've always been proud to be a part of. And um, it really is neat. And a lot of people, again, a lot of what we do at the county is kind of off the radar to the typical person going about their day. But as you get into it further, you really see a lot of the activities and services and functions that are taking place in the community are county government at work, whether it's the election that's going on right now, early voting, to the sheriff's deputy driving down the street, to the animal service officer going to chase down that lost dog. A lot of different services, some big, some small, but all important and all part of county government.
We've got another question coming in, and this is one of our fantastic political science professors, Dr. Elo. And her question is, do you think political ideology or party affiliation is important to know when electing judges? And Dr. Elo, that's such a great question. It comes up in so many of our political science classes because, as we know, some offices have a political party attached to them and some of them don't, like school board and city council don't, whereas your office, Judge, does. And I think what Dr. Elo is saying, when you were electing judges, is that a thing that we want as part of that process? Such a great question.
That's an excellent question. I'll approach the answer from two directions. First, I would probably look at the county judge as a little bit different than the many judicial judges that you would elect, like district judges, state Supreme Court judges, county court at law judges. My role, as I've talked about, is primarily budgetary, administrative, um, those hats. But to that larger question about should judges be selected in partisan elections, that's been an ongoing debate and discussion. On the one hand, you have folks who say party affiliation should have no place in the discussion. This is based on judicial experience, competence, even-handedness, and thus they should be appointed by an impartial panel, a nonpartisan panel. The flip side is this is reality. You're either going to have partisan elections or you're going to have partisan appointments. We might as well put the information and the political leanings on the radar of and in the hands of the voters and let them decide who they want. Political ideology may paint a picture of how a judge would rule in certain instances. So it's either going to be a partisan appointment or a partisan election. We'll leave it in the hands of the people. Um, it's long debated. Obviously, the powers that be have chosen the current arrangement, and frankly, I don't see that changing anytime soon. I will say, though, along these lines of partisanship, although at the county level we run in partisan elections, which I think is appropriate and is good. I'm always eager to tell folks my conservative background, Republican involvement. But really, in office, what we're actually doing, the tasks, the jobs, the goals, the agendas, those are very much nonpartisan issues. Everything we've talked about today, Woodrow, whether our hospital providing indigent health care or quality health care to the airport, to animal services, to the sheriff's office, to these are not partisan issues. And so, really, when you see a disagreement unfold in the courthouse, rarely is it ever. And in fact, in the 10 years I've been in office, it's never been over partisan issues. It's been over personalities and priorities and opinions and not politics. So uh, even though a lot of the national issues are being interjected more and more at the local level, by and large, what we do day in and day out is not partisan. It's about serving the community as a whole, which leads to a lot more cohesion and sanity than like what you see in Austin or Washington. So glad to be here and not there.
Well, that's what I found. And I always say that, Judge, and I try to share that with my students when I can, is that what we see on our local level is a lot less contentious, ridiculous, demonstrative, whatever word you want to use, than what we see on our state and especially in our national politics. I've seen so much more cohesion amongst people who are different parties, like yourself, Commissioner Garcia. But you and Commissioner Garcia are friends. You still have immense respect for each other. You work together on many, many things. All the things that you mentioned today, y'all were both together on, right? So that I wish our students could see that more on the state and national level. And I thank God we live in a place like Victoria where they have the opportunity to witness that. Now, this gets to our it's probably going to be our last question. And this comes from our Vice President of Development and External Affairs, Miss Amber Countess. Thank you, Amber, so much for this question. This is so good because it was exactly what I was going to ask of Amber. So this is great. So your involvement, Judge, your pathway before being elected. Did you attend commissioner's court? Were you a fan? What might you recommend to young people as a way to prep yourself for such a role?
Sure.
And as you're talking, I'm going to put on the screen a perfect opportunity. Every week, Judge, you have a meeting. Every week, citizens can come to that meeting. They can watch it. They can actually go there live. Now they have to go through a metal detector, right? But they can ask questions. Well, not ask questions, but they can make comments. There's a citizens communication. So I would just encourage to Miss Countess's question. If any of you out there are like, well, I want to get involved, right there on the screen, you see it. But Judge, take it away. Your own path to this.
Thank you, Amber, for that question. Excellent question. Two things. Two things. I guess as far as my background getting into this, I ran for county judge 10 years ago, as a then 29, 30-year-old, which was early, I mean, young as county judges go. But that wasn't my first venture into politics or into government. Um, Prior to that, had been extremely involved in local politics, the local Republican Party, the state Republican Party. I had run for and been elected to the state Republican Executive Committee for the 21 counties in our Senate district, had volunteered in campaigns, had developed a lot of deep connections with both elected officials and political operatives and consultants and people in the political and government realm. Uh, a very long-standing foundation in that. Frankly, I had been involved in local government politics since I was, a young kid. And so going into the role of running for county judge, I had a good understanding of the role. It wasn't my first, although it was my first run for public office, I'd run for party offices and been very involved in that. So I wasn't new to what an election took to win, wasn't new to what the job was. So that was kind of my background leading into it. Plus, also on the professional side of things, my career had been in banking. Both my degrees are in business, then was in banking, which is very frankly relevant to the budget aspect of the county. So that's my background. But as far as anybody listening who may want to be involved, I would encourage a few things. Number one, um, there are ample opportunities, and there is one opportunity I want to speak to. I can't give away all the details just yet, but we are forming a program that will take folks from the community and basically put them through a multi-week educational process, exposing them to every facet of what the county does. We're going to be rolling that out probably within the next 30 days. That, once it's announced and I'm able to describe it more, will be a great opportunity for anyone to learn more about the county, to have a very intimate understanding of what all we do. So that's going to be a great opportunity. But aside from that, there are opportunities in volunteering for campaigns, for elections. If you have more of a political bent, every candidate running greatly appreciates help in any way possible. So around election time, well, I always tell aspiring would-be candidates the old Zig Ziglar saying that, if you want to get to where you want to go, help as many other people get to where they want to go. I mean, politics is a team sport. One of the errors I see a lot of, especially younger candidates make, is they'll show up to run for office without having had a background in the local party or in other campaigns or in any of the apparatus that they're seeking to lead. That's a mistake. There's ample opportunity to get involved before running. And this program that we're going to soon be rolling out is an excellent opportunity to do that. In addition to what Woodrow mentioned, our weekly commissioners court meetings, which are also available to view online on Facebook. And so those are a couple good opportunities there.
Judge, we're getting towards the end, and we so again appreciate your time. I want to encourage any of you, especially students, to please follow up with the judge. The judge has been a great mentor for so many UHV students. And we've had UHV students, I think, intern for you and work for you in all kinds of capacities. So if this is something you're interested in, this is a great opportunity. This is a county judge you're looking at right now, right? I mean, that's a big deal. And he's somebody who is more than happy to chat with you and figure out what kind of things might be available in your future. I know something very important to you we didn't get to talk about is, of course, your beautiful family. And if you just kind of end with that, your family, the future of Victoria, your artistry. I didn't know you were such a great artist, right?
Woodrow, I didn't agree to that picture being used here. No, not good at all.
Again, just the future of Victoria. You're somebody who's in it to win it. You wanted to raise your family here, you wanted to be here, Judge. So
Yeah,
share that just as a closing thought. Why? Why do
sure.
you want to be here? Why do you think this is a great place for your family to live and to thrive?
Yeah, well, this is home, Woodrow. Victoria is home. I know I'm involved in I guess, the behind the scenes talks about the marketing of the community. How do we attract folks? How do we pitch ourselves? I mean, for me, Victoria is home and has been for a long time. My wife, like I mentioned, is also from Victoria, her parents, grandparents. And yes, the beautiful children you see there, well, they're all about 6 inches taller now, even since that photo was taken. And this is their home too, their future here. And well, it's funny, when I was first running, Benjamin Jr. was not born yet. In fact, Addie, we were pregnant with our middle daughter at that time. So they came along since I became county judge, and they have really grown up referring to the courthouse as Daddy's Castle, um, which is funny. They've roamed the hallways there, but it has been, frankly, success in this line of work really is a family endeavor. My wife's been at my side every step of the way, a wonderful support. Because, I mean, frankly, the first election we ran was a contested election against a longtime incumbent. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't an open seat. I didn't have any noteworthy person endorsement on day one. It was an uphill battle, but we ran to win because we felt that we could and felt that that was needed, and we were successful. And it's been 10 years, and Lord willing, and if the voters still want to keep me around, I intend to stay around for a while longer. And I can tell you, Woodrow, been my overwhelming honor to serve this community. I'm always happy, like I say, to visit with UHV folks. And so, like you told them, if anybody wants to reach out to me, whether about involvement on the official county side of things, or if somebody's looking to plug in the political realm in any capacity, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to have either of those discussions.
Judge Ben Zeller, thank you so much. We had some other questions come in, but we will definitely follow up with those questions. The judge is very good at following up. I just want to thank you not only for today, but everything you do every day of your life to make this county a really, really good place. And I want to thank you so much for everything you do to make our students here thrive and be successful. So God bless you and all the work that you do and your colleagues do. Please keep doing that work. It is noticed, it is important. And we can't wait for you to join us again on a Bridge to Brilliance or some other thing. I'm sure we'll be seeing you here at some point in the future. But thank you so much, sir, and God bless you very much.
Likewise, Woodrow, thank you so much. You're very kind. And for everybody who's taken an hour of their time to listen to me, I appreciate your time. I value your time. And it's an honor to serve you as your county judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for Bridge to Brilliance. We hopefully will be back next month with one more before the end of the semester, but this session will be recorded. And you should know, Judge, there's already county commissioners asking us, where's the recording? I couldn't come, right? So we're going to be having this recording. And if the judge wants to share it with anybody he wants to, and any of you want to share it, you should know, Judge, that a lot of our teachers do use these. And they do exercises and projects with the content of these sessions. So it will live on forever. Judge, thank you so much. God bless everybody. Thank you for coming to Bridge to Brilliance. Have a good evening.